Awesome. Thanks so much. How are you doing?
No problem. I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Just driving into the city for some meetings and stuff, playing in Sayreville, New Jersey tonight.
That's right. So you're about to embark on a tour with Hanson right now. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been on tour with Hanson for a couple weeks actually, and it's been awesome. It's been really, really good. So
oh my God,
we're having a great time.
Cool. What are the guys like in person?
They're really nice. It's funny because I've played with so many people who I just look up to so much, and that I thought oh my God, I wouldn't be able to speak if I ever met Neil Young. And then next thing I knew, I was opening for him at a Farm Aid concert, and so it's so funny. But then I thought I was playing with Hanson, and because they were such celebrities when I was 9, I was listening to their cassette tape at Indoor Recess, I was even more starstruck, I feel which I was oh my God, it's Hanson, it's so funny. But they're the nicest, most normal guys you'll ever meet, and super talented, obviously. But it's pretty cool being on tour with people who are so real,
Aw. That's great. Is there any city that you're looking forward to visiting while you're on tour?
Pretty much all of them have been really awesome. We played Burlington, Vermont the other day, which is just awesome, one of my favorite places. And Northampton, too, was really cool, just kind of a fun little artsy town. So, we're playing, Myrtle Beach, though, and, some shows down south. I'm really excited about it. Everything that we've been doing together is great. It's regardless of my expectations or if I've been somewhere, there's always something cool about every city that we go to, which is the best part about touring,
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that you're doing some big venues, some small venues, you're doing some festivals. Do you have some kind of ultimate preference of a kind of venue that you like to play best?
There's good things about all of those. And so it's hard to say, maybe which one that I prefer. I don't necessarily prefer either one, but I love playing shows where it's just a packed house and a huge theater and people are excited and they know your music and stuff. That's awesome, and we've had a lot of those on this tour, which has been great. But there's something to be said for those smaller shows that are a little bit more intimate, and it feels more like a coffee house kind of vibe. And I love doing that too. So it's kind of nice to have both and to play tours sometimes where it's all big theaters and huge audiences, and kind of have a couple shows here and there that are a little bit more chilled out and stuff. I like having a variety. It's cool. So it's nice that we've had a little bit of that on this tour.
Yeah, definitely. And you do have that on this tour. Now, I was reading that one of your first gigs ever, you opened for John Mayer and the Counting Crows. So
yeah.
What was that like? Were you really scared going into that?
I was just totally clueless. I didn't know anything about the music business, and I didn't know how I got there or why I got the gig, because really the way I did get the gig was that I just made a demo, a really crappy demo at my house, and my dad, who's not in the music business at all, had given it to everyone he knew, and somehow it fell into the hands of someone who booked me that gig. And it was just kind of ridiculous because, I was a huge fan of both of those artists, so I kind of just didn't know what it meant to get signed or to open for someone. I just didn't even know, because I'm just a regular Midwestern kid from, a little suburb on the lake, near Cleveland. So I was just oh, well, it must be really easy to get into the music business. I was thinking I guess tomorrow I'll be making a record, and the next day, it was so ridiculous because it doesn't just happen, So it was cool, and it kind of set this pattern for, I feel what my career has been, which has been, I've kind of been learning how to do all these things while doing them, very much cutting my teeth in the spotlight, I learned how to act while being on One Tree Hill, I learned how to, play a show while, playing in front of 40,000 people at Farm Aid, and, and opening for John Mayer and Counting Crows and stuff, and so, but it's been really cool because it kind of forces you to step up to the plate and, and figure out, how it's done, and learn from other people who, are professionals that you're surrounded by. So it was very cool, and it kind of set the stage for a lot of other things down the road, and was definitely an awesome experience for me. It was the first time that I felt like I was on the other side of the audience, artist line, where I was kind of oh, now I was on stage. I was in the same category as these other artists, you know, because I'm an artist too. What the heck, you know? It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. That must have been amazing. I mean, you just got signed to MySpace Records. How did you kind of get their attention?
You know, it's funny. I showcased for a ton of labels, like, and my experience with showcasing was just started out as pretty negative. I just been somebody who is, you know, very casual and, you know, I like people. I love meeting people, and it just felt, the atmosphere of showcasing felt so cold. And I was just so uninspired by it. I was like, dude, this is stupid. You know, I don't want to walk into a conference room full of, like, 50-year-old men in suits who are looking at me like, you know, I better impress them in the next 5 minutes because they want to go to lunch. I was like, that's dumb. Like, I'm not going to put up with that. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to college, and, like, if the right deal comes along, then it will, and cool, you know? And so my sophomore year of college, or I think, like, end of my freshman year, I was contacted on MySpace by Tom, like, first friend Tom, you know, ridiculous. And he asked if I was signed yet, you know, and I thought it was fake, first of all, but because, you know, does Tom even exist, let alone get on his own website and, you know, whatever. So I replied anyways, even though I thought I would never hear back from him. And the next thing I knew, you know, I was out in LA and I was showcasing for this MySpace Records that I didn't know existed either. And so, you know, but once I walked into MySpace's office, it was just completely the opposite experience than, you know, what I'd had my senior year of high school. It was like, it just seemed very, like, open and you know, creative and friendly, and they seemed to really care about my artistic opinion on stuff. Like, hey, Kate, what kind of record do you want to make? You know, what songs do you think would be on your record? Like, and I was just like, what is this? Like, there's such a record label that cares about this stuff, you know. And they're also tied to Interscope Records, who, you know, is obviously, you know, has a lot of just resources and is just really has a great reputation. So I was like, this is cool. You know, you get your feet wet and, you know, you build up a fan base, do it grassroots style through MySpace and touring, and then once you start to get a buzz going, they upstream you to Interscope. And so, you know, now I'm on MySpace Interscope Records, and it's just been an incredible experience. It's been great. And so, yeah, it very much kind of came out of nowhere. But I think sometimes the best things do, you know?